So, Joseph, I'm curious.
Yes,
Can
sir.
a constitutional right have a serial number? Hear me out. Okay, so there's a case in the federal district court near Fort Worth. It's Vanderstrock versus Garland. It started off with Defense Distributed. Do you know who they are?
Yes.
They're the guys who are printing firearms, or they're developing technology to allow people to print their own firearms.
Yeah,
like
those guns. Yeah,
yeah. Well, so when you do that, you don't have a serial number on your firearm.
oh my God,
Right.
makes it very dangerous.
So here's my question. Where in the Second Amendment does the government derive the right to order people to place serial numbers on their firearm?
Doesn't.
Exactly. So in light of this case, and we'll link this case in the description so that people can read the court's order. They've issued a preliminary injunction against the ATF to prevent the ATF from changing the definition of firearm and rifle under Chapter 26 of the United States Code, which is the Gun Control Act. And it's 26 USC 599 and the 28 CFR, which is the Code of Federal Regulations, where, agencies like the ATF actually define terms and regulate terms. Okay. And so the court has said, no, the ATF doesn't have this ubiquitous authority to change definitions because that's a congressional authority, not an ATF authority.
Yeah.
Right. They have to go to Congress to say, hey, we would like you to change this legal definition.
Change the law.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's this tug of war going on between Defense Distributed and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms to figure out who has the authority to regulate what and what constitutes a firearm. Okay. Well, one of the things I'm hoping, and if it's not addressed in this case, I see a future where the Fifth Circuit addresses whether or not the ATF can require, or Congress, where Congress can require that a serial number be applied to a firearm. Because if you have the right to a firearm, you have the right to make the firearm.
Yes.
How can the government tell you to put a serial number on it?
They shouldn't.
Right. And that's where I'm going, because if you have the right to vote and the government cannot, remember now, because of all these, like state governments like Texas wanted you to have a government issued driver's license or some other form of ID in order to vote. What that does is inadvertently places a serial number on your right to vote. In other words, if you have to have a government-issued ID, well, then that's a serial number.
Okay.
And then if you have to have that to vote, technically your ballot would have a derivative of serial number attached to it, which would be your driver's license or your Texas ID, because you can't exercise that constitutional right with that serial number. So what did the Supreme Court say? Well, the Supreme Court said the government can't interfere with your ability to vote. In other words, you can't be required to have an ID to vote, which is why these provisional ballots, write-in ballots, you have to show up, you can provide something else. Well, here's my birth certificate. Oh, okay, you are a U.S. citizen. Yes, okay, well, you can vote, right? So that's the whole tug of war going on with voting. Can the government require you to have a serial number to vote? Well, should the government require you to have a serial number to possess a firearm? Because it's a database. Why do serial numbers exist? To create a database and nothing else, right? To give a unique nomenclature or unique identifier to a firearm. They're going to say, for the purposes of investigating, crime, they need to know which weapon was used. But to your knowledge, has a serial number ever been used to actually solve a crime?
I can't. I thought about that the other day. When we were talking about it. I mean, maybe when it was a family member who killed another family member,
right?
And they trace it back to you. This was your firearm. We found, I did it. But no, think about it as a police officer, or if people out there are saying, but ghost guns have no serial numbers, they can't be tracked. Well, the serial number doesn't have anything to do with solving a crime. Not one single solitary thing that I know of. Okay. You have a gun on the scene that you found. Okay, great. That's probably the murder weapon. You find a gun with a guy that you think committed the murder. That may be the murder weapon. Okay, but what does a serial number have to do with it?
I would like to hear, I would like to hear a court's explanation on either the justification or the invalidation of requiring serial numbers to be placed on fire.
Well, the validation is so they can find out that they can know if you have a gun, so the government can register whether or not you're a threat to them. That's the only thing. What else could a serial number be? Same as your car, right?
Right.
Why does your car have an ID tag, a license plate? So the government knows who you are. What other reason could it be? The VIN number, same thing. It's to control it, but from the government. It's for the government can step in and take it away from you.
To tax it.
Or to tax it.
Well, no, that's what it is, to tax it.
Okay. Well,
is your vehicle registered? What's the VIN number? Yes, you paid your taxes. You can drive it on the road.
Well, I think the gun is so they can take it away from you.
Well, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
So, and I'm going to tax you in the meantime.
So tell us what you think in the comments below. This is a question I've had since I went to law school is, can the government require a serial number for a constitutional right? In other words, can you serialize a constitutional right? Can you require someone to categorize, place in a database, or in any other manner organize your ability to exercise a constitutional right? And that's what's always fascinated me is when you read the Second Amendment, it says shall not be infringed, which to me is pretty strong language, right? It's pretty straightforward. Shall not infringe means the government can't do anything.
Yeah.
So where's the legal necessity to put a serial number on a firearm?
There is none.
Yeah, that's my conclusion. I'd love to see what the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals thinks. Really, I would. And then maybe the Supreme Court. Who knows, right? Something to explore. Comment below. We appreciate all your input. And, if there are any other lawyers out here watching these videos, I really want to hear from you. So like and subscribe as always, and we'll see you in the next one.